Hi, welcome to the resort at Paws Up. Fans of Visit Montana on Facebook Live, we appreciate you coming out and seeing our property. Love to share with you a little what we're doing in the culinary world and this winter. Please come inside. As those who don't know, we're on 37,000 acres in the Blackfoot River Valley. A really exciting place to come enjoy activities, playing all day, working hard all day on that playing, and then coming inside and sitting by a fire and having amazing food with our great culinary team. So just inside here, this is Tank, Trout, and Pop, three of our restaurants that are available for all our guests, including locals that we love to have come out and eat with us. Please enjoy a cooking demonstration by Sonny and Amy.
Hi, welcome to Paws Up. Come on in. It's chilly out there. I think it's time we feed you. Want to introduce you to Chef Amy here.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the pastry chef here at Paws Up. And today I'm going to start with, we're going to make an apple cobbler. Trying to focus today on a lot of local ingredients that we get here in Montana and what you can do with them in this winter season. So I am making a cobbler with Honeycrisp apples. Honeycrisp are, for this season, probably the most tart and the most firm apples that you can get. And so I chose those. We're also going to put a little bit of locally harvested juniper berries in there. These actually came from our property.
That was on a hike that I took
Yep.
not too long ago. So it's always nice to embrace what's nearby, especially when it's in your backyard.
Very good. And then also I'm going to add in some local hazelnuts. Every once in a while at the farmer's market, you can stumble upon some fresh hazelnuts from an orchard. They're not super abundantly grown in this area, but you get to know the farmers around. You get the secret source. So I have the apples that are already sliced here. I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle a little sugar and a little cinnamon in there and a little bit of fresh nutmeg on top.
Those apples are amazing. I think I ate 3 of them yesterday when we were sourcing them.
Yeah, I'm just going to stir them up and then start layering them inside of our pan here.
Yeah, so while
Pass it
Amy's
over to
working on
you.
that, by the way, we have another dish on the savory side. Trying to best harness winter is kind of a challenge sometimes because when you think about winter, you think about like super rich, super heavy dishes, and it's super comforting, right? Because I mean, you need those calories when it's cold out. That doesn't mean you can't eat healthy. So what we're gonna do is right here showcase a lot of these grains that are grown in Montana. Most of these ingredients are actually from here, down from the lentils to the purple barley to our farro. And right here as well, obviously everyone likes meat and game meat in particular. This is a linguiça that I made from an elk. And I proudly admit that this is from my harvest of 2018. And so we're gonna bring all that together, and of course, you can't forget like your root vegetables right here. So we have like carrots, the parsnips, and then some roasted delicata squash, which is easily growing on me and becoming one of my favorites because it has just this light, crispy skin that you can just cook right through and you don't have to even fuss about it. Remove the seeds and throw it in the oven and you're ready to go. So I'm gonna continue putting this together. So Amy, what are you doing over there?
So I'm
shingling it up?
I'm just shingling up some apples in here. You don't necessarily have to shingle them, but I like the prettiness of the layering of your apples. You want to do a decent layer so that you have a good ratio between your apples and your cobbler batter. Cinnamon sugar will kind of create its own juice. That sounds good.
Oh yeah, you gotta love the sizzle. So right here we're gonna just brown our elk. Start over there. Try to control the fire a little bit. Boom. So when you get that nice and golden and cooked through, here comes the easy part. And this is a real simple, just a one-stop shop kind of a dish. We're gonna take a little bit of this roasted squash. We roasted a little ahead of time. It's simple. Olive oil, salt, pepper, and that's all you really need because, I mean, we're going to start to develop the flavors as we go by with lemon juice and a little bit of parsley and some shallots and, of course, garlic, right? So right here, when everything is, say, like, cooked through and almost ready to go, I'm a huge fan of garlic. So I'll go in there and slice it. And when you slice it like this, really thin, you know that you're biting into it. And it's much more of a controlled surprise. It's not like every bite, but every now and then you get that little bit of a surprise. What's important about garlic, of course, is something you can burn very easily, and that's why I turn the temperature down very low. And it doesn't take very long, especially when you slice it thin, which we did right there. Right there. Now you got all that bitterness out of there, and then that sweetness and that flavor that we all know and love is going to be coming through here. When you get to that point, all these grains, you just want to add a little bit, or a lot of it. Little salt and pepper. I like mine a little more coarse ground. You can always adjust right here, your preference. Amy, while you're over there, can you do me a favor? Can you cut a lime or a lemon for me? Okay. A little more olive oil. Who doesn't like olive oil? And here's where the fun part begins. So we're going to grab a little bit of kale right here. This is a very nutrient-rich product that grows most specifically in the wintertime. So adding this like any salad or say even a pasta or meal is very beneficial for you. So now we've got that heat. You can still hear the sizzle. Add that
smells delicious.
right over the top of the kale. And when you do that, that residual heat is enough to wilt that kale. So when you do that, you can see it's all coming together now. And of course, you want to finish it off with a little bit of acid in this. We're going to use a little lemon juice. I find acid to be much more important than salt for any meal because, I mean, that's really where you find the balance. I mean, you can find the seasoning with any kind of salts you want to use, but acid, that's where you get that variable and can create a dish to your preference. So there we go. We see that. That's all wilted up. And then we have some shallots, some fresh shallot. Put that in there. And some parsley right there to brighten it up. And we mix that together. I think one of the most important kitchen tools are tasting spoons. So there's always at least a couple dozen in front of all of us in our kitchen over here. Because you have to taste as you go because, I mean, you know, developing flavor is critical. You can't just automatically assume that a recipe is 100% because they are just strictly guidelines. Anything has just too many ways of a representation, so try it. Mm-hmm. Definitely more lemon.
Those grains are really nice.
What do you think?
A nice texture of the grain.
Oh yeah. And this is simple. This is something I would eat for breakfast just as much as I would for dinner.
Fry an egg put on top.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allergic to bacon either. You can always go
No.
far with that. And then the delicata that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Put a few of those on there as garnish. There's also a little bit folded into the dish itself. And then, here's a great one. This is from Lifeline Dairy. They just launched this 2-year aged cheddar. And vintage cheddar has always been one of my favorites, and they just knocked it out of the park with this one. And you can see it's as crumbly as feta when you get that aging process just right, and all those salt crystals kind of develop. I know a lot of people are going to say cheddar with linguiça, but you know, it's all about preference, and I'm okay with it. So then that would be our final dish. just one of our offerings that we have on embracing what we have around Montana, especially in the wintertime. Light, healthy, very hearty.
Delicious.
Yep. Dense with all those vitamins that we all want as well.
We all need.
So, how you doing over here?
Okay, well, so I have shingled my apples in here, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of texture to this too. So I'm putting a little streusel topping in here. It's just sugar, brown sugar, a little bit of flour, butter, and some whole grain or some rolled oats. And then I'm gonna take my hazelnuts, put some in there. I just used the side of my knife to crack them. I'm not really looking for them to be too fine, just broken from whole. And then the cobbler batter itself, you can just kind of spoon in there. And this actually has the juniper pieces in it. So the cobbler, the cake part is actually what tastes like the juniper. And then it goes in the oven, or you can put it on the fire, which is what we have to show you in the other room.
Yep.
So, let's go over there.
All right,
I need my
let's
towels.
check this out. Come on in.
Over to the fire. So if you're feeling in the festive spirit and you have a nice fireplace, you can go ahead and cook your cobbler on the fire. So this is the final product. You can see it's nice brown all the way through, but still tender. And so I'm just gonna serve up a scoop here. See all those apples are nice and soft on the bottom. And we've also got some nice, really nice local honey from the co-op today. And I'm just gonna go ahead and drizzle that over the top. This is actually a knapweed honey, which I think is kind of interesting since in Montana knapweed has been such a horrible invasive species, but somehow we've managed to make a decent product out of it. So, and without further ado, I'll hand you over to Kyle to talk about wine.
Thanks, Amy. Welcome to Paws Up. We were fortunate enough here at Paws Up to have this awesome culinary team. They're some of the hardest working people in all of the resort. It's my privilege to get to work with them, and I have probably the most enjoyable job at Paws Up, and that is to get to work with these winemakers and this culinary team to do these amazing food pairings. We have winemakers that visit us monthly up here. Some past participants, Opus One, Chapelet Vineyards, Gurgitch Hills, all Napa Valley royalty. We're off to a great start for 2019 coming up. We've got some great events lined up in January. Kennefic Ranch coming out of Calistoga in the Napa Valley, making world-class Bordeaux-style blends with Napa Valley grapes. Winterfest, Andrew Murray and Chad Melville visiting us. Really big-time up-and-coming names in the wine world out of California. And in March, Round Pond, one of my favorite wineries, really culinary-driven, great wines. But we don't just limit ourselves just to California. We represent wines from around the world, from California to France, to Italy, to Australia, to South America. We cover the whole realm. So what are you looking for to pair with wines, pair for wines with culinary, with Montana cuisine? You want things that are big, things that are bold. Just like the state of Montana, everything is big and bold in Montana. You want to look for the Barolos from northern Italy, the blends from the Rhone Valley, Bordeaux. But what really speaks to me for wine is Napa Valley. Napa Valley wines are big. Napa Valley wines are bold. They're well balanced, and they go excellent with that Montana cuisine that you would expect. The big bison, tomahawk, ribeye, steaks, elk. So my favorite right now, the wine that I would go with for the wintertime, the 2015 Chapelet Vineyards Pritchard Hill Cabernet. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Kyle. Step outside with me, see a little bit of the view we have. Thank you. Gentlemen, watch your step. A little bit slippery out here. I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to learn a little bit about our culinary and what we're doing here at the resort at Paws Up. And for all those considering a trip to Montana or all those currently living in Montana, encourage you to learn more on visitmt.com as well as our personal website, pawsup.com. But please, if you haven't been to Montana, come soon. And if you have been to Montana, come back. We'd love to see you. Thank you very much. Thanks for spending time with us.